And then I end by this example, which I think to honor Tengku Razaleigh, I thought I'd use this as an example. Now, Tengku, if next week somehow they discover oil in your constituency of Gua Musang, let's say, picture for a minute, next week, in your favorite constituents, kampung, big house, they discover petroleum. What will happen? What happens? And the answer is, immediately ownership of that oil found in Haji Ali's kampung house would belong to Petronas under the PDA. And 5%, 90% goes to Petronas when they finally dig it up and whatever, and the oil is flowing. 90% goes to Petronas under the PDA. 5% goes to Kelantan, PDA. 5% goes to the federal government, PDA. Now, I use that example, land in Gua Musang, to make the point that but for the PDA, the federal government would not have got 5%. The federal government would not have got 5% of Haji Ali's kampung house in Gua Musang. Because up to 1974, the federal government has never ever enjoyed any rights of minerals over land onshore. Gua Musang, I must check, must confirm. Gua Musang is on the land, isn't it? To go. It's not the sea, eh? You can actually walk on the land, on that assumption. So the assumption is land. If it's on the assumption is land, the federal government should never get 5%. Never. They had no legal basis. Yet, in the give and take that surrounded the PDA, the federal government in that agreement, remember I told you there were 14 agreements, the federal government which was signed by Tun Razak as Prime Minister and of course Tengku Razaleigh as Petronas Chairman, in that agreement, wherever oil is found in Malaysia, onshore, offshore, federal government gets 5%. So please tell me if that is fair. If you are going to be highly legalistic, if you are going to be legalistic, of course I answer by saying all this territorial waters nonsense are a red herring. But assuming for a minute they have legal basis, then can you please explain to me that if Kelantan and Terengganu had no legal basis for oil outside 3 miles, but yet is going to get 5%, what is so terrible about it when the federal government is going to get 5% of oil in any of the 13 states on land? Nothing unfair. And that is exactly the contract. It was a contract. It was a freely negotiated contract. Well, actually there were 14 contracts because all the states had to relinquish. They all had to sign contracts. And Tengku will tell you how difficult it was. It took him 2 years to go around the country. In 74, 75, 76, there were recalcitrant chief ministers like Mustafa, who then of course had to be thrown out. Then he was replaced by Donald Stevens, and then Donald Stevens was taraking harga a bit, and then he passed away. And Haris Saleh had to sign for Sabah. And of course, Rahman Yaakob, we know his story. We had other recalcitrant Menteri Besar. We had Harun Idris of Selangor. We had Ghazali Jawi of Perak. So these are tough warlords of UMNO. And for them to voluntarily give up their rights, and now 34 years later, and I must say a clever lawyer's argument about 3 years gets us nowhere. Thank you.